Hello everyone, Justin back again, and we're going to go over Zolder in the ST today. It's a bit of a tricky track, and a lot of my breaking points for this track, it's hard for me to pin down exactly where I feel like I need to break. It's a lot of feel here because you really need to adjust and judge based on how much speed you're carrying between each corner for like the first turn, for example. So we'll just go over some of these general things and go ahead and get you guys on the right path. This will be mostly about how to get the car around more than the precise, brake here, turn here. It'll be more about where the car is, where you can gain time, and where the car is going to try and lose itself, because it can get a little bit tricky in some of the chicanes, because there's 3 big ones here. All right, so let's head down the straightaway and get this lap started. So you're going to get over to the right here. Luckily, you've got all these signs up on the right, and then you've got this big banner here. So there's a lot of different places where you can judge your braking. Get used to which banner, which sign, whatever. There's so many different markers here. You'll see what I use here. I lift at this Coca-Cola sign before the last one. The second to last one is what I was using. I lift and get on the brakes here pretty heavily. I downshift and I get it pointed in. But you want to point it in gradually because this corner has a weird arc to it. It's totally okay to take these inside curves. If you take too much and you take the grass, sometimes the rear of the car can hit one of the turtles on the inside of the curb, and that'll send you around in a very slow, lazy spin. But here we go, taking it out onto the AstroTurf is safe. Get back over to the left so that you can get this corner. This corner is really tough to get right, and I feel like there's definitely more time to gain throughout the track here on this lap. This lap was only a 32. I've seen hot laps where people hit into the mid 31s, but this corner reminds me a lot, if you guys can remember back to Brands Hatch, the second left-hander on the course, so that'd be turn 4, where you're doing the uphill left-hander. You kind of have to approach from this weird middle line, because too far outside is just too slow and it's offline, but too far inside and the angle gets too tight for the car. So it's a lot about feel here. So I kind of want to keep it so that I have about a car width on my left here, brake, and then as I get off the brake and I'm rolling off the brake, I'm turning in more. Say I'm getting the wheel turned in more, and just after I feel the car settle through this section over these bumps is when I'm going to get back on the gas. But you got to be careful because the car can get a little squirrely on you. Flat out all through this. And you can take a different line, a different arc through there. It all depends on when the car gets settled for you. My car got a little uneasy, so I took a little bit of a wider line. You'll save maybe half a tenth to a tenth if you get it to hook up correctly and turn in and follow the groove on the track a little bit better. It's really not that big a deal. You might have some intersecting points where someone has a run on you and your lines intersect, and you have to be aware of that. But other than that, it's such a flat out section that, as soon as it's safe to get the power down and get it down to the inside and roll it out, you'll be fine. The sidewalk on the left here, let me hit reverse. This little sidewalk on the left is what I'm using as a lift and brake point. See, as I'm already partially off the throttle at this point, so I'm lifting and braking here through this. What I do is I stay in 4th gear, and I get down into 3rd, and then I punch it once I feel the car hook up and get ready to turn. So right here, I'm like, okay, I feel the car coming to me. I'm starting to straighten the wheel, and I'm on it all the way. Now this curb is higher than it looks. It's like a ramp. You really want to avoid going up over this curb because the sand will slow you down pretty good. I think I might put half a wheel off here, and it slows me down a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of a wheel touches, but yeah, you want to avoid that. This one's also tricky. You've got marshal posts, you've got poles, you've got this. Try and find something on this side or on this side that you're able to get used to braking with. For me, it's just after the 100 meter mark, so I lift at 100 and brake, lift, brake all in one motion. Now this is interesting. Unfortunately, I knocked over one of these cones. The cones that are on the insides of these chicanes are telling you where the track limit is. Believe it or not, you can take all this. Not all to where my mouse is over here on the left, but you can take all of this little box that I'm drawing with my mouse here. and there's seams, and you can find a seam where there's less bump. I didn't get the greatest seam going through the second sector, or the second part of this chicane, and I'll get a bad bump and lose a bit of exit speed, but it's still faster than slowing down a lot. Not the worst. You can get through there without a big bump and jump after the end and save a little bit of time, but I really threw it in there. I was trying to go for a good lap. Get ready to come down this hill, and you got to be ready, because right when this hill straightens out, when the track is worn in, it's a little easier to see, but right when this hill straightens out, start getting ready to get on the brakes, because it's really tough to get this thing to rotate the way you want without over-rotating. And here you could even turn in a little bit sooner than I did and take a little more. I was just nervous about dirtying the lap, but you can take a little bit more and kind of straight shot the chicane a little bit more. See, I'm already straight and going over. If I had taken a little more curb, I probably could have saved a quarter of a second. And again, go right over the left side here. It doesn't dirty the lap unless you're hitting that cone. And notice the cone in the mirror is still there. I haven't knocked it down yet. Partial throttle when you switch back through here. You don't ever want to get off it entirely, because the car can sometimes get really snappy and loose. And I actually will go back real quick and point this out here. When you're going through this section, that's another thing you need to be aware of. You're using the brake and throttle through this section carefully. See how I popped the throttle just a little bit there? I'm trying to keep the rear end from getting loose and stepping on me. And then you want to lift slightly to get it around this bend. And then more or less you're going to be flat through here. I hit the curb, so I lifted just a tiny bit. But if you get comfortable, you'll be able to go through there flat. I've seen... There's supposed to be another Pirelli sign underneath the 100. That's basically where I brake. Get it right down tight on this. You'll save a bit of time just right on this curbing here. There's a turtle on the far inside. It's not too dangerous, but try to avoid it. And right back on it, there's a little bit of pavement that goes outside the curb if you need it. And again, eat the curb here. Straight shot it. Fastest way between 2 points is a straight line. Coming down here, it's the same thing again. I brake just after the 100, though I fully admit I braked a bit earlier and more cautiously here than I normally do. And you'll notice the way I took it through here. I took a very safe and smooth line, because this track is extremely tricky to get a good lap time. Kind of like Monza, where you really need to nail these chicanes. And I was having a lot of trouble putting together something that I thought was worthy of a breakdown. You know, I could get a lap, but it was messy. So I just wanted a clean lap. So I backed it down a little bit here for this lap. Typically, you can break another car length ahead, but you'll notice when I come in here, I'm off the brake really early and turning in really early. When you can trail brake into this, I chose to forego that and just take a safer line, which, by the way, you'll see why the lap time is not entirely slow. I still gain time on my splits in this sector. You can get way down here on this one, and this is the one that you want to do this on, because you can avoid the turtles completely, and there's a little dip there between, so your right tires are on the pavement, your left tires are over here, and your rear never, the center of your rear never smacks on the turtles, so you really can get through there without much of a bump at all. And then set up to take this next one with as little turtle as possible. You can hit it. There, I didn't really hit it. You can hit it, but this straightaway, it does lose you speed on the straightaway. And then, of course, just take it all the way out and go hard on the gas. I typically get right back over to the right. And that right there is going to be a 32.5. You'll see it on the bottom of the screen on the bottom right there. Last, 32.5. If I was to push and trail brake through the last corner a little bit harder, I could pick up probably a quarter of a second. I mentioned a few other places where I could pick up time. I would say an optimal qualification lap in this thing for me would probably be a mid 31, and an optimal sat here and hot lap for a week and a half straight for a qualifying hot lap. I don't know. Aliens could probably get down to a 30.9 or something insane. Again, don't worry about hitting that kind of time. There's going to be a little bit of an ebb and flow here as far as who's going to be able to go through these corners that are very heavy on feel, where you have to feel the grip come in and go through the sweeper and feel the way the car wants to hook up in the brake zones. There's a lot of feel here, and then at the same time, there's a lot of confidence where it's like, I'm just going to throw it over these curbs, and I'm confident in my approach that I'm taking the right line, and I'm going to bang it over these curbs and whatnot. So definitely, be prepared for a bumpy race. you don't have to smash it over the curbs to get a crazy lap time. There are videos out there where people completely avoid all turtles, and still can hit like a 32. But in my opinion, it's a little bit harder because it really requires getting this car to stay hooked up through the mid corner, and that's not something that, you know, it's hard. It's a lot of gas and brake pedal work, in my opinion, to get this thing to stay planted. So it's a little better to just hit the curbs and go for it. I mean, even F1, they're banging over curbs and those things, and they've got no clearance at all. It's just, or excuse me, well, I'm thinking of Imola. Excuse me, I have Imola on the mind where they bang through chicanes. You just have to take curbs in these cars. Is this what it is? And chicanes are no different on any track for the most part. You just bang over and take curbs. I got Imola on my mind because of the DLC coming out. Anyways, guys, I will see you this weekend. I believe Chris Johnston is doing his workshop tomorrow, so get with him on that. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I'll be posting the tune along with this video in the Study Hall channel. And that is it for today. Signing off.